So again, I'll be using the R app, which is installed. I won't be using RStudio, even though I do have RStudio installed here. But when we start writing scripts, that time we'll look into RStudio, okay? And we'll write files there, because it is easy for me to write, multiple line code, especially a script file in RStudio than rather writing in R console. Okay. Now I'm using R console so that I can execute one command at a time and show you. Now, so coming back, the next last time I just refresh. The last time what we did was we created a vector, and a vector is nothing but a collection of elements. Okay. And you can use the C function, or also known as combine function, to combine all these elements. Okay, elements are nothing but it can be a string, it can be a collection of numbers, or any Boolean types or logical types, you can say. Okay, or even complex type also, a collection of all the items will create a vector for you. Okay, and we make use of the C function. So I'll just show you that example again, and then from there we'll continue ahead. Okay, so if I want to create a vector, first of all, I have to name a vector. Now, initially, I'm going to just give a name here. Let us say A. Okay, I'm going to make use of not the equal to sign, the assignment operator. I'll be using the arrow like this, with less than and a minus sign creates this my assignment. Okay, you also have the assignment like equal to, and you can use this. You can also have minus, and you can have assignment like this as well. Okay, we'll come to this later on, how to use all these three types. But right now I'll be using the regular one, which is frequently used in R. Okay, so I'll be using a less than sign and the minus sign to create this assignment. So whatever I'll put on the, you can say, right hand side, will move into A. Okay, and I'm not assigning a single element. I'll be having multiple elements, and to combine all these elements together, I need the function C. Okay, so I'll write A is equal to C into bracket, and here I can, in single quotes, I can put something here. Let us put some colors. So I'll put red. Now, one more thing, it need not be always a single quote. I can also include a double quote as well. So let us say I want to say some other color, say blue. Okay. And another, again, a single quote here, say green. Okay. I'll put one more, orange. Okay. But remember, it should not be a combination of double quotes and single quotes. We have to start with the function C. And whenever we are using function, the function, after writing the name of the function, we have to open the round brackets. Okay, the round brackets actually indicates that it is a function. Okay, so opening and round bracket, wherever you find that there is some keyword which is used, and it is after that there is some round bracket, remember it's a function. Okay, that is the use. So usually you'll know, okay, even in case of like here, you can see this type Q round brackets to quit from R. Okay, so this is also a function here. Okay, demo is also a function. Then help dot start, even this is a function. Fine, but because it has this round brackets. Okay, and if the round brackets are empty, that means we are not passing anything, we are not writing anything inside the round bracket, that indicates that I'm not passing any parameter. And for those who are not from the IT background, what is a parameter? Parameter is something which we are sending as an input to that particular function. Okay, we are passing some value, okay, to that function, so that the function can work on that particular parameter. Okay, it can be any input or anything. It can be some variable, or it can be some address of a variable, anything we can pass to the function. Okay, but if the round brackets are empty, that means there are no parameters required for that particular function. Now, in this case, C is a function and it requires some parameters. So here you can see I have passed 4 parameters. Okay, this is my first parameter, second, third, and fourth. And each parameter is separated by a comma. Okay, and I have to complete this by putting the closing round bracket. Okay, I press enter after that and it gets executed. And as if you know, last time I told you that R uses an interpreter. An interpreter means it, you can say executes one line at a time. Okay, so if there is any error in that particular line, it will tell me that there's some problem in the, okay, you can say the command which I'm trying to execute. Okay, so when I press enter, that means this variable got created, and this variable will be having some values in it, that is red, blue, green, and orange. And because I'm using this function C, and I've passed similar type of elements, that means I have passed character elements or string, you can say. Okay, this is known as a vector here. Okay, it is known as a, again, it is an object. Okay, now how objects, anyone can you tell me what is an object? Anyone? Do you know what is an object? Forget about the programming concept. In general, even a chair is an object, a table is an object, a mobile is an object, a laptop is an object. Okay, you pick up anything, we can call that as an object. Okay, now relate that to the R programming here, or any programming language, especially when we talk about Java programming or any other object-oriented programming language. Why we call that it is object-oriented? Because we are creating objects first from that particular, you can say, classes which are created. Okay, again, what is a class? We can say class is a collection of attributes, or you can say variables and functions. Okay, so class, usually what happens now, for example, let us take a very simple example of creating a blueprint. Okay, so whenever you go for constructing a house, what you do is, on a piece of paper, first of all, you're going to draw the whole design of that particular house which you're designing or you're going to create. Okay, and then using that, you're going to set up or create that particular house. Okay, the house can be said to be an object, and on paper, the design which I have is known as your class. Okay, simple example. So what does a class has? A class might be having different features in that particular paper. And using that, I'm actually going to create something. Okay, so any design which we write, might be I have designed a car model. Okay, and from that car model which I have designed, using my laptop, of course, this time. Okay, what I can do is I can create multiple objects. In that case, that means multiple car of the same model can be created. So similarly, if I have a class which is written down, where I have attributes, we have functions, we have constructors. These are some concepts. So you can say some jargons which are used in IT. If you're not aware of that, you can try to Google it out. Or if you have any question, you can ask me as well. Okay. So you can say that a class is like something where it's a blueprint of creating the object, which contains attributes and the functions or procedures, you can say, and constructors, deconstructors, and so on. It can also have, subclass as well. So class within, we can have within a class is known as a subclass. Okay, so we can have subclass. Now all this, if I want to execute the methods or the functions which I have written in the class, first thing I have to do is I have to create an object. So until and unless I create an object, I won't be able to access the variables which I have created inside or attributes which I have created, or I cannot access the methods or the functions which I have written inside the class. Okay. So whenever we say, okay, this is an R object, that means there is a class which is written, okay, using which this object is getting created. Okay, so whenever I make a call to this function C, okay, it is creating an object. Okay, it's creating an object, and that name of that particular object is A. I hope I have made it clear. Any doubts in this? You can ask me a question. You can always unmute yourself and ask me the question. If there are no questions, that I understand that you have understood this.
Sir,
So
where
great.
is the
Yeah.
class in this sentence
No,
vector?
in this, see, when we say C is a function, okay, when I said C is a function and it's creating an object, that means somewhere inside R. Usually what is R programming? When we install R programming, when we downloaded R package and when we installed it, what happened? There were many files that were installed on my PC. Okay. So whenever we are writing a particular program, let us say Java program or, any C++ program or something, okay, usually there are some inbuilt, you can say, classes which are available. Okay, these are your primary classes. Okay, so these are the foundation classes, you can say, which we can use directly. So to create an object, we can directly make use of the classes which are available there. Okay, and R understands that whenever I make use of this function C, it is going to create a vector for me. So a vector object, this is an R object which is getting created. We are not making it, we are not directly calling that class. Okay, we are not directly calling a class. We are using the function C, and C in turn is making use of the object to create a vector. Okay, so these are all inbuilt ones. We are not directly calling it. Okay.
So then there's a difference between class and function.
Yes, yes, of course. As I said, class is a collection of attributes and functions. Okay. And function is, you can say, if those who have used C programming, okay, you might have seen that whenever we write some instructions, usually, let us take an example. Okay, you want to perform addition. Let us say you're writing a small code for the calculator. Okay, and you want to write a function for addition. Okay, you're not going to take the inputs from the user and always write a statement A plus B equal to, or something like C equal to A plus B, and then display the value of C. Okay, that is not going to happen again and again in the code. So what you're going to do is, you're just going to write a function for that. And in that function, you're going to write this statement. Okay, C equal to A plus B, and return C. That means that function is going to return the addition of the two values. Okay, and whenever I have to perform addition, what I'll do is I'll just make a call to that function, and the function will execute the code which is written inside it and return me the answer. Okay, so whenever we have to make use of something frequently, again and again and again, okay, what we do is we collect all this, you can say, instructions together, or the commands together, or whatever logic you're going to write for that particular function, and put it in a particular, you can say, set of, you can say, a block. Okay, and that block itself is treated as a function. So we have to give a name to that function and so on. So when we come to creating function, we'll see that as well. Okay, so users can write their own functions as well. Okay, now these are the inbuilt functions. C is an inbuilt function. Okay, but if a user wants to write a function, like you want to write a function of your own, you can do that as well. Okay, and what is a function? Function is nothing but collection of all your statements or logical statements, you can say. Okay, it might include other variables also. Okay, so this right now, what we are using a C function here. Okay, and what is the use of this particular function? The use of the function is to combine the elements. Okay, so it is going to combine all these elements, okay, and create a vector by the name A, and assign all these elements there. Okay, so there are different tasks this particular function is doing. Okay, what it's doing, it's creating, okay, a combination of all these elements, okay, and assigning it to A. So in the memory, if you imagine a memory, in the memory, let us draw a square bracket. and say that that is a memory. So in the memory, what happens is some memory slot will get allocated. Okay, and that memory will be known by the name A. So whenever I write, like when I write print into bracket A, what happens is it searches for this memory location where it is referred by the name A. Okay, and whatever is stored inside A, that will be displayed to me. So when I press enter here, I get all these values. Now these were the values which I had stored in A. Okay, and these were created using the function C. Okay, any doubts now? Okay, so if there are no doubts, let us go ahead. I'll quickly show you how to create a list now. Again, list is again an R object which can contain many different types of elements. Now, in this case, you saw that we had only same type of elements. Okay, the elements can be integer, as I said, or character, or any other type which is supported by R. But a list is a combination of different types of, you can say, elements inside. Like if I have to create, I can have a list with vectors. I can have a function inside the list. I can have another list inside the list, and so on. Okay, and it is very simple to create. Let us create one. So the syntax for creating the list would be, let us say, first of all, I have to write this variable. So I'll write L1. That is my list name, which I'm giving. Okay. Again, I'll be using this less than and the minus sign, the assignment operator here. Okay. Now here, I'm not going to make use of C, because using C, we can create a vector. Here, I want to create a list. So we have a function called list. Okay, with small characters. Okay, one more thing, even a capital letter is different in case of R. Okay, so a small r and a capital R is different, like a small a and capital R is different. Please remember. Okay, so see that you're programming, whatever code you are writing, especially the reserved words. Reserved words are the one which is already defined inside the program. Okay, so in R programming, a list has been defined. Okay, so it's again a function which will create a list of elements which can be of different types. So let us create some. Now what I'll do is I'll create a combination of different types. Let us put some numbers first. So I have this 21. Then let us put some float value as well. So we have 89.56. Then another one, let us create a say vector inside the list. So to create a vector, how we do it? Using the C function. So C into round brackets. I can put some numbers, or I can put some characters, whatever you want, you can try. I'll write some characters here, or let us put, because we have already used characters on the first example, let us put some numbers here. So I'll put 4, 6, 9. So one more, say 10. So I put 4, integer values as a vector now. Okay, using the combine function, that's C function. Okay, I can also write a function name inside. So I can store a function. So we have a function called, let us say, a trigonometric function is there called sine. Okay, like the sine, cosine, okay, cos, tan. Okay, these are some of the functions which are already available in R programming. So if I want to store a function as well, I can do that. So let me store one. Let me put a sine here. Okay, so I can put sine and then complete the round bracket. Okay, let us first of all put a character here. Okay, and then we'll see. So I'm putting the color blue, comma, and then sign. Okay, then you press enter. And again, using the print function, I can print this list and check what we get. Now, look at how it is getting displayed. That is more important. So when I complete the round bracket, so L1, okay. Now here you can see this. Now look at this square bracket 1, okay. That means what's happening is on the first, you can say, line, okay, this double square bracket indicates that we have a two-dimensional way of storing the value. Okay, it's similar to like your array, like a 2D array. Okay, so on the first row, you can see this, we have this 21, it is an integer value. Second, I have this 89.56. Okay, so one value there. Now under 3, okay, this is the third element which I have created. But because we have created a vector here, you can see all the 4 values are getting displayed. Fine. Then we have the index position 4. Here we have blue, the string. And as I said, I can also store a function inside a list. So here you can see this is the name of the function which we have. So function round bracket x dot primitive sin. When we say primitive sign, that means this name of this function is sign. Okay, we'll come to functions later on and we'll see, but this is how your values are stored. Now, one more thing you might have noticed, especially all those who are from the programming background, whenever we have a collection of elements, okay, a collection of elements, the index position which it begins with usually begins with 0. Okay, but that is not the case in case of R programming. You'll find that the index position always starts with 1. Okay, the index position will always start from 1. Clear? And in this case, the example which we have taken, how we can create a list? Simply using the list function, nothing else. Okay. Now we are going to see all this type later on in depth. Okay, there are multiple functions which are available. Okay, in list, in your vector, you know, how to extract elements, individual elements, all that we are going to see later on. Right now, I'm just showing you how to create all these types of objects which we have. Okay. Now the third type of object, or object which is available, is your matrix. Okay, or matrices you can say. Now a matrix is nothing but a two-dimensional rectangular data set. Okay, it is a two-dimensional rectangular data set. Okay, it can be created using a vector input to the matrix function. So if I have a function, okay, by the name matrix, there is a function available by the name matrix itself. And to that, if I pass a vector, okay, I can easily create a matrix. So let us try, and I'll show you an example here. So I can write for matrix, let us put M. Okay. Now, in this case, let us make use of the equal to sign because we have, or let us use the same one which we have. So I have this matrix. Okay. Inside the round bracket. Now, inside the round bracket, I want to pass a list or you can say a combination of elements, multiple elements I want to pass. And whenever I want to pass a multiple elements, the best way of doing that is through a vector. Okay, because vectors are collection of same type. Okay, similarly, in case of your matrix also, it's a two-dimensional rectangular data set having the same data type. Okay, the data types cannot change here. So here also what I can do is I can write C into round bracket and let us pass some numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, how many 6 values I have passed? I think more than enough. Okay, complete this round bracket. Okay, now after passing the values as a, you can say as a vector here, I have to specify something. So there are multiple parameters in this function. Okay, so the first parameter is a vector which I'm passing to this matrix function. Okay, and the second one is I have to indicate how many rows do I want in this particular matrix. Okay, so the number of rows and number of columns will decide the, you can say the dimension of my matrix. So to give the number of rows, we have a keyword here called n row. Okay, so n row equal to, I can say how many we have here. Let us say 2 by 3. So I can give 2, put a comma, n column. if I skip n column also, it will create a 2 by 3 matrix based on the number of values or elements I have. But let me pass all the values. Okay. And there's one more parameter which I would like to show you here is by row. Okay, by row. Whether I want to start assigning the values row wise or column wise. Okay. So if I say by row equal to true, so this has to be assigned to true, and true has been written in capitals, capital letters. Okay. So when I say by row equal to true, that means the numbers, that is 1, 2, 3 will be in the first row. Then in the second row, I'll get the next value, that is 4, 5, 6. Okay, that is what it means. And when we put false, I'll show you that as well. So let me complete this and let us print the matrix now, M. Okay, so here you can see this is my first row. So we have this, you can see the dimension, you can see it's a rectangular 2-dimensional data set. It has rows and columns. Okay, because I mentioned here n row equal to 2, there will be 2 rows that will be created with 3 columns, and the assignment will happen by row. So it is going to complete the first row first, and then it is going to go to the next row. Okay, so you can see this dimension 1, 1 is 1 here, 1, 2 is 2, 1, 3 is 3. Okay, so whenever I want to refer to that particular element, I have to use this indexes. So 2, 1 will give me 4, 2, 2 is 5, and 2, 3 is 6. Now let us see if I write by row equal to false. We can use something else also. So let me put M. This time I'll use equal to matrix. Okay, and let us use a character this time. So I'll put single quotes. Let us put A, then again A, okay, and then B. Then let me put C, then B again, and I'll put again A. Okay, so this is my vector. I've just written n row equal to 2. Okay, let me complete this here itself. Okay, and I'll print M. Okay, so look at this now. What happened? Now this is by default because I have not passed this parameters. First of all, it is going to create 2 rows. Okay, look at this. It is going to create 2 rows. But because I have not passed the column, depending on how many elements I have, those many elements will be assigned here. Okay. Now, what you can do if you want to do some trial and error, you can pass 5 elements and check what happens. Okay. Or you can pass, say, 4 elements and give row as 2. Or you can pass some, you can say odd number as a parameter and check what happens. Okay. That is up to you. You give a try. Okay. Now, secondly, I have not given this by row equal to true. And there's the reason. You can see this, if had it been row wise, it would have been AAB. Now, this is not AAB. Okay, it is ABB. Okay, that means what is happening is A is getting stored here. The next A is going to the next row. Okay, so the first column is getting filled first. Okay, then next column, and then the third column. Okay, so that is the difference between these 2 statements, where I'm specifying by row equal to true, and in this case, where I'm not specifying by row equal to true, that means by default, it is going to assign the values or store the values column wise and not row wise. Okay, so that is the matrix which can be created like this. Now, again, for matrix, we are going to come back to matrix again in depth, where we'll see some functions, the inbuilt functions, plus how to extract different elements. Okay, we are going to come to that again. Okay, the next R object is your arrays. Now, while you can say the matrix are confined to 2 dimension, arrays can be of any number of dimension. Okay, that is the major difference between a matrix and an array. Okay, so a two-dimension array looks similar to your matrix. Why? because matrix is two-dimensional. But remember, if I have to use multi-dimensional arrays, is the only option. You cannot have multi-dimension in matrices. Okay, so there is a difference between a matrix and an array as well. So again, if I have, let us say, I want to create say a 3x3 matrix. Okay, and here I want to have a 3-dimension or 2-dimension. So matrix is the best solution. But if I have to go for a 3-dimension, values which I have to store, in that case, I will prefer using an array. Okay, so let us create an array here, which will be of say 3x3. You can say rows, 3 rows and 3 columns, and like this, there'll be 2 matrices. You can say. Okay, so while giving the parameter or while using the function, again we have a function called array here. Okay, what I can do is, let us write A as an array here. Okay, assign this using a function called array. Okay, so the next function which we are going to use is the array function to create a 3D array in this case. Okay, now while creating this 3D array, what I'll do is I'll pass the element. So let me put some, use C, the vector. So I'll put green as the color. Okay, and I'll put say yellow. Okay, only 2 is more than enough for this example here. I put a comma. Okay, now like in previous case we had n row and n column options. Here we have a dimension option. So I have to mention the dimension for this particular array. So I have to give it like this. So I have to use the keyword dim equal to. Okay, the dimension has to be mentioned. Now, while mentioning the dimension also, I have to pass the dimension in form of a vector. Okay, so C into bracket. Okay, now here I give, say, let us give 3x3, even though I have passed 2 parameters here. Let us see what happens if the third element is not passed. So I'll show you that as well. So 3, 3. Now this becomes a 2-dimension, but I need 3-dimension. In 3-dimension, what happens? 3-dimension is nothing but a collection of, you can say, 2D array. Okay, what is a 3-dimension array? 3-dimension array is a collection of 2D array. So the number of rows here is 3. Number of columns are also 3. And like this, I want 2 arrays. So I'll give 2 here. Okay, so this completes my dimension, which will be of 3, 3, 2. And what does that mean? I'll have 2 3x3 arrays. I hope I have made this clear. Any doubt here? It sounds very confusing, but it is very simple. Whenever I say there is a 3-dimension array, that means I have, like the first 2 parameters is 3x3. That means I have 3 rows, 3 columns. Okay. And I have 2 such arrays. Okay. So when it is storing in the memory, it is storing in 2D form. Okay. But like this, they are storing multiple arrays, you can see. Okay, one behind the other. If you imagine, just imagine, one 2D array and behind that one more 2D array. Okay, that is the second one. If I change this to 3, 3, 3, okay, if I change this to 3, 3, that means I have 3 rows, 3 columns of one 2D array. And like this, I have 3 such 2D arrays. Okay, I hope I have made it clear. So right now I'll keep it as 2 here. Okay, complete this round bracket. That's all I need. I press this, enter, and let us see what I get when I print the value of A. Okay, this is interesting here. Okay, now look at this. Even though even though I have passed only 2 parameters, 2 elements. What happened? Okay, this is the first 2D array, and this is my second 2D array. Okay, so what it did, it used green, yellow. So because, this is your green, yellow, and again green, yellow, and like this, it completed the whole array. Okay, so it did not keep the array empty. Okay, it started with the green value. Now look at this again. The last value here was green. Okay, that means the first value in my second array started with yellow. Okay, so yellow, green, and so on. It's interesting to understand this, but what you do is you can. We have very less time remaining. Please give your attendance as well. And when you practice this, we are going to stop here. When you practice this, try to experiment with this different types of functions which we did today. Okay, so experiment will help you understand it much better. Any doubts you have?